He was charming, good-looking, smart. You sure you have the right guy?
Ted Bundy is back on a lot of people's minds with the new Netflix docuseries Conversations with the Killer, the Ted Bundy Tapes. Now, it's reopened the Ted Bundy case to an entirely new generation.
The docuseries debuted on the 30th anniversary of Bundy's execution, becoming an immediate hit with viewers discussing the tapes on social media.
And I gotta say, people are having a very strong and different reactions to how Ted Bundy is being shown. So joining us now to discuss the true crime doc are our own Topher Gaz and Gracia Lopez. All right, guys, so one popular opinion based on people who have seen this Netflix docuseries is just how attractive Ted Bundy is, which sounds really
like
weird
a hot
to say.
serial killer.
Right. What's your guys' take on this?
Grace, I'll let you start.
Well, again, we see his photos, we see his mugshots, and we see a very attractive person. Now, I went in this completely blank, didn't know anything about Ted Bundy, didn't even know what he looked like. So to watch everything, I was staring at him and I was like, oh my God, I'm looking at a movie star that looks like a movie star. So I can see why, unfortunately, he was able to get away with so many murders, because you look at him and he has these piercing blue eyes that some women can just look and just fall in love with.
Is that how he kind of like lured women in?
Yes. So in the Ted Bundy tapes, you hear him talk about himself in third person. You hear him say, yeah, one day I used a crutch and I used a briefcase and I asked a woman, hey, can you come help me? And that's how I got her. That's how I was able to knock her unconscious.
But it's scary to think, like, this is someone who was convicted for these horrifying crimes and is now kind of being romanticized by an audience
He's
in a way.
being glorified.
Yeah.
That's like, we'll call a spade a spade.
It freaks me out. I'm someone who's, like, knows all about this case and grew up hearing about this case. So it's crazy to me to think there's a generation of people that, I don't know, they don't think, maybe don't think of it as real because they weren't alive for it.
And honestly, a lot of folks, I'm sure, or young folks, I should say, who are tuning into this are learning about it for the first time. And also part of this meme culture where we want, like, think about Netflix's You with Penn Badgley. Like, it's a fictional character, but he's a stalker who commits murder. And people are like, oh my God, he is hot.
Well, speaking of Netflix, they actually tweeted, because, I mean, so many people on social media were talking about how hot Ted Bundy was. And Netflix's tweet says, I've seen a lot of talk about Ted Bundy's alleged hotness and would like to gently remind everyone that there are literally thousands of hot men on the service, almost all of whom are not convicted serial murderers.
There's a lot of people out there. Like, we don't need to focus on the people that did awful things in the world.
Which is crazy, and it made me want to, like, look up, like, kind of the reasoning behind it. And there is actually a thing called hybristophilia, you guys, that is a type of paraphilia in which a person gets sexually aroused over someone else committing crimes like murder. And in pop culture, it's become known as this Bonnie and Clyde syndrome. Again, though, like, glorifying it.
Yeah, it's just absolutely disgusting. And again, Topher, you just said that you grew up with the case. I knew absolutely nothing about it. So the thing with the docuseries is that it's in chronological order. They tell you everything, but you want to know the why, right? Which is the reason why you're watching this docuseries. You want to know the reason behind it. And it's not until the end that they tell you Ted Bundy opens up about necrophilia, which is when you get aroused with a corpse, basically. And it's what he liked. And I read more articles about it. Basically, he kept some corpses for a time being, you know, just to interact with them, and then he would, once they started to decompose, he would then go up to the hills or wherever he would just drop off the bodies.
Oh, God.
And I just think we're kind of, you know, if you are tuning in for the first time, you're doing it on like a Netflix. So I think in a way, sometimes it just feels, it does feel fictional because you're still just tuning in as like another form of media. And I think you said we're in this meme culture where everything's based in humor. I mean, maybe it sounds funny to go online and like, oh my God, he's so hot.
But it's not, because it's a real thing, like hybristophilia. It's a real thing.
You have to be conscious of that when you're posting
things.
It's
how we're programmed these days.
I also feel like it doesn't help the cause either that then you have like a new movie with Zac Efron coming out who plays Ted Bundy. And Zac Efron's a heartthrob.
Right.
100%.
And I think one of the survivors from Ted Bundy actually made a comment on Zac Efron being the new heartthrob, and she said, you know what, I'm actually okay with somebody as hot as Zac Efron playing Ted Bundy because this is what actually happened. It was somebody who was this attractive, who was this smooth, had his way, knew exactly what to tell somebody to lure them in. So she said, I'm actually okay that Zac Efron
used that.
I guess it makes it accurate because in my mind, I'm like, maybe they should have like uglified him a little bit because he still looks like the stunning Zac Efron we all know. But like you said, if that's how Ted Bundy was, then they're just trying to be true to the story. I think it's just a matter of like being respectful to the people who face such horrifying things
Yeah.
at his hands and the families of those people that are still living with this and that trauma.
Very well said.
Very well said. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Now, if you're into true crime, check out Conversations with the Killer on Netflix.